as talks start in Paris this week on a global plastics treaty. A divide is emerging on how to deal with plastic pollution between countries that want to restrict production of plastic and the petrochemicals industry, which says recycling is the answer. A 55-nation coalition called for a strong treaty that restricted certain hazardous chemicals and banned problematic plastic products that are hard to recycle and often end up in nature. Inga Anderson heads the United Nations Environment Programme, which is hosting the talks.
Please bear in mind that only elimination, reduction, a full life cycle approach, transparency, and a just transition, only those can bring success. Because the truth is that we cannot recycle our way out of this mess. Recycling infrastructure is unable to cope with today's volumes.
Greenpeace unveiled an artwork in Paris in the shape of a machine churning out bottles in front of an oil derrick. Many countries say the treaty's goal should be circularity, or keeping already produced plastic items in circulation as long as possible. Greenpeace campaigner Marianne Ledesma.
There are studies showing that there's microplastics in our air, in our water, and in our bodies as well. And that's just one facet of the problem. If you go into the communities where plastic production happens, they're already suffering from very serious health risks and health conditions because of emissions, of contamination from these plastic production facilities.
UNEP has released a blueprint for reducing plastic waste by 80% by 2040. It outlined 3 key areas of action: reuse, recycling, and reorientation of plastic packaging to alternative materials. But some environmental groups criticised the report for focusing on waste management, which they saw as a concession to the global plastics and petrochemicals industry.
Email exchanges from inside the BBC, they talk about the risk of violating Indian laws. It's easier to rake up the freedom of speech debate, but does it give anyone a free pass to knowingly violate the law? America supports India because it needs India's support in return. And India is working with the US because it suits India's interests. This is how geopolitics works. Last night, he diffused a crisis with his defense minister. But today, Netanyahu was confronted with a new problem. His cabinet seems to have rebelled against him. The UK is looking at the Indian subcontinent to fill its coffers. That India seems to be negotiating from a position of power, like a partner and not a former colony.